So, do you want to know what's going on in the civil conflict of Myanmar as of July 2026? Do you? Do you? Because I'm going to tell you. There isn't just one thing happening in this civil conflict. There are many things happening at once, but I'm just going to focus on one aspect that I think is very, very interesting. Now, these stories are intense, chaotic, volatile, dangerous, wild, but somehow they are still very interesting. Hello everyone, it's Asian Anthony, and in this video, Myanmar's new battlefield, the River Convoy story. Now imagine trying to supply an army, but you know that almost any road can lead to an ambush. What would you do? Because this is the question that the government of Myanmar had to answer. Because for many years, the government of Myanmar has relied on the roads and the highways to move the troops, to move their supplies. But after many, many years of this conflict, the roads are becoming increasingly more dangerous. And this is because the resistance forces, who are against the government of Myanmar, have made them dangerous. A lot of bridges have been blown up. A lot of roadside bombs or IEDs have been planted, and also ambushes have become very common. This is very similar to the Iraq-American War. So the military needed to come up with a solution. They needed another way to supply their troops. They needed another way to move their troops because a lot of the troops in the rural areas were becoming too isolated. It was just too hard to get them supplies and fresh troops. So the military decided to come up with a plan. Why not use the rivers? Because in Myanmar, they have the best river system in all of Southeast Asia. And also, they can use these rivers to go almost anywhere they need to go in Myanmar. So this is fantastic. Let's move the troops and the supplies via the boats. So the military started sending flotillas on these river systems. A flotilla is just a group of small boats. So these are not big Navy ships. These are not submarines, etc., etc. These are small boats with small arms. Now, the military decided to send these boats on mostly the Irrawaddy River and something called the Chindan River, but there's other rivers that they're used to. So at first, everything was good. They put their river convoys together and they sent their supplies and their troops throughout Myanmar. But the resistance forces were watching. The resistance forces knew when these river convoys were coming because a lot of these resistance forces live in the jungle. And this is for obvious reasons. It's just easier to hide in the jungle. And they know when these flotillas are coming because they have eyes all over Myanmar. So the resistance forces, they are not stupid. They understand what happens if these flotillas reach their destination. That means these bases will have more equipment, more supplies, more troops, and they are going to use these equipments, these supplies, and these troops to run over the resistance. So the resistance forces decided that these flotillas had to be stopped. So what did the resistance do? Well, this is where it gets interesting. The resistance forces decided to quietly hide along these river systems and they would wait. Now, they are waiting to get the flotillas in a certain part of the river. They want the flotillas or these small groups of boats, these river convoys, to get to a point in the river where the river is very narrow. And they do this because if they attack these ships in a narrow passage, the ships cannot maneuver. The ships cannot run away. The ships are sitting ducks. They can't do anything. So that is what they would do. They would hide and they would wait. And when the flotillas will come to a point in the river that was very narrow, the resistance would open fire. Small machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, mortars, and whatever else they had would all be sent directly at these flotillas. Now, at first, the government of Myanmar was pretty devastated, okay? They didn't see that coming. But the government of Myanmar, they are also not stupid. This is not the same fighting force from the year 2022. It's 2020. It's 2026 now, and they are also much smarter. So they learn very quick. So what does the military do? Well, now they're starting to send gunboats on these rivers. And now these rivers are being accompanied by helicopters and fighter jets. They're not following, but they're on call and ready to go. So when these ambushes would happen and the resistance forces would open fire, the military would start shooting back with these gunboats, with small arms also. But they have something that the resistance forces don't have: air support, helicopters, airstrikes from jets, and they also have better equipment also. So these ambushes would turn into hours and hours and hours long of fighting, okay? It just would go on for hours, a long time. And sometimes the flotillas would win. Sometimes they would have to try to leave, or sometimes they wouldn't make it out, okay? But I say all that to say this: who is winning currently? Still too early to say. Sometimes the flotillas make it, sometimes they don't. But I will keep you updated. That is the current situation now. This flotilla river convoy situation started at the end of 2025, and it has continued through 2026. As more time goes on, the government gets better at fighting back, okay, which is to be expected because they have better supplies and the soldiers are better fed there. So there you have it.